I'm Coach Miller and welcome to All Marine Fighter. Today we're going to learn how to pivot. Pivoting in boxing or kickboxing or MMA is one of the most important movement techniques that you're going to learn. The more that you're able to master pivoting, the better fighter that you're going to be. Not only better, but you're going to excel above the top percentage of fighters at the national level and beyond, even at the Olympic level. I'm first going to show you from the orthodox or right-handed stance, and then I'll show you from the left-handed or southpaw stance. So starting from the right-handed stance, let's just envision that your opponent is directly in front. So think about how as you're looking through the camera, directly in line with these squares. So a nice foundational boxing stance here. You're going to take with your lead leg a 45 degree angle step to your left. A 45 degree angle step to your left. Defense is still up. Defense is always up. With that 45 degree angle step, you're going to shift your weight forward and slide around. Now what I mean by that is that you're going to pick your weight up off your back leg and pivot around. Now what's important is that number one, you don't go too far. So 45 degree angle step and pivot. But don't come too far back because now you're off balance, okay? So everything is going to be in relation stepwise. And this is going to come from you being able to master your movement every which way, no matter if it's basic movements or not. Always having the same amount of spacing, not having your feet too far forward or too far back, that type of thing. So even from the right-handed stance, not, crossing your legs, that type of thing. So here, 45 degree angle step, pivot around. Now my opponent's here, and I'm at a 45 degree angle, okay? From a left-handed stance, here, 45 degree angle step, my weight shifts forward, sliding, the tip of my foot is barely grazing across the bottom of the ground. Now this is kind of important, it takes practice. Do not drag it, because you're not going to be able to move very quick. All you're doing is barely grazing your foot across the top. But you don't want to pick up your foot either. Now remember that, hey, you've got an opponent that might be firing punches back at you, and you can step and pivot and have an advantage over. But what if you get caught in the middle of moving? So I'm here and I get caught and my foot's off the ground. Now I have a major balance issue. So if I step and I go to pivot and my foot is barely grazing across the ground as I'm moving around and I get caught, my hands are always up, and I get caught, I can plant, fire back if I need to, and pivot again. So pivoting with your lead leg, 45 degree angle step, pivot. So much quicker, pivot. Now remember, it's a game of inches. You don't have to step that far. It's just a matter of a few inches, enough to pivot, and you're at a completely different angle than your opponent. Your opponent's firing punches that are missing you. But this is also going to require you to be comfortable to be in the zone with your opponent. If the bag here is my opponent, I'm stepping, and he is firing this way, boom, 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 I'm firing shots back. And of course he's missing. From the right-handed stance, 45 degree angle step, pivot, firing back, okay? Step, 1, 2, 1, and you can do follow-up combinations. You can do actually multiple pivoting, because think of it like this. Once you pivot and your opponent's in the middle of firing a punch and you're gone and he sees you here, what's he going to do? He's going to turn to try to re-engage you. So if you pivot again, you can constantly have your opponent doing this and you're throwing shots, catching them each and every single time. To do a strong side pivot, all you're going to do if the opponent's right here in front of you is step out to your right and then turn and pivot in. Now if you'll notice, I'll be kind of at a 45 degree angle from him, so I can be able to fire punches out, and then of course you can move out and punch out. So let's say for instance you got your back up against the ropes, the opponent's coming, you step out, pivot, and be able to fire back in any kind of combinations you want to throw. For the left-handed stance, it's here, stepping out and pivoting in, boom, 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 boom. And of course you can fight out of it and go around. I have the bag right here, of course, but let's say I'm facing you right here, left-handed stance, stepping out, pivoting in, boom, boom, boom. Now, the important thing is the strong side stance is awkward. It's an awkward movement because in your natural stance, you're used to going through the lead hand side, okay? That's just how we practice our boxing movement. So yes, the strong side pivot is a bit awkward moving, but in all reality, you don't need much. And I would say that this is really used, especially when your back is up against the corner, or let's say you got the ropes but right behind you. I actually had this situation happen to me where my back was up against the ropes, and I'm a left-handed fighter. Fighter's coming in, and all I did was pivot, and then actually he was coming forward pretty strongly, okay? And then I threw a hook in, and I just nailed him square across the jaw because he was firing punches from really his arm level instead of having him up and having the shoulder up. So I caught him with a nasty hook coming in, and he just came right into the ropes. And so the ref had to break it up because he almost went straight through the ropes, okay? But the strong side pivot does work. And I would definitely say that if you're going to pivot off to your strong side, you definitely need to make sure you're throwing punches. Because if the opponent's coming forward, now I'm demonstrating this from left-hand stance, the opponent's coming forward and I step out and I pivot in, my range of movement is going to be quite a bit limited. So you need to be firing combinations, that way you can move out of it, okay? Make sure you practice both the strong side pivot and the lead side pivot. For working your pivoting, there's a small little drill that you can do to start to get used to pivoting, okay? I just happen to have multi-squares here on the floor to help illustrate this on the camera. So think of it like this. Here I got my square 1, 2, okay, 3, 4. Here, I'm here in the middle, nice good stance. Let me start a right-handed stance for you. Right-handed stance, right here in the middle, 45-degree angle step, step, pivot. If you'll notice, I'll be pointing towards the corner. Same concept here, step, pivot, pointing towards the corner. Step, pivot, pointing towards the corner. Step, pivot, pointing towards the corner. Okay? You're going to be essentially dancing circles around your opponent in a close proximity. For the left-handed stance, here, step, pivot, firing, step, pivot, fire, step, pivot, fire, step, pivot, fire. When you do the drill, it's always best to go ahead and fire some combinations. Just start burning it in your muscle memory now. It'll benefit you in the long run. So here, step, pivot, 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. Step, 1, 2, 1. 1, 2, 1. Just already get used to firing punches as you're doing your stepping, because it's going to take you really far, starting to burn it in your muscle memory, because that's essentially what you're going to be doing against your opponent. Hands up, step, pivot, 1, 2, 1. 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 Now doing the pivoting when you're doing your box drill, of course, is a lot easier than trying to do it against an opponent while you're sparring or even in a fight. But the more that you burn it into your muscle memory, practice while you're sparring, okay? So it'll be a little awkward at first, and then once you start, just think of it in my head, think of it in your head. I'm gonna dance circles around my opponent. I'm gonna stay in proximity to him, and I'm gonna dance circles around him, literally. Being able to pivot and fire punches in the zone will take you extremely far in a lot of martial arts, not only just boxing. You will be able to gain an advantage over your opponent and be able to score clean, effective punches. If you like our videos, go ahead and click that like button down below. And of course, if you're not subscribed yet, what are you doing? Go ahead and subscribe to our channel for more content. And until next time, stay motivated.